Alright, the Plains Indians. That's what we're looking at today. Or tonight. I don't know when you're watching that. I really want to know. So the Plains Indians, what's going on? Yesterday, for yesterday's video and class, we're looking at the settlers. Now, it would be ignorant of us to forget the Native Americans who are living here. If you recall from last year, yes, there are native tribes in this area, but also we have a lot of these people, and they have been displaced from their traditional homes, mostly in the south of the United States. We have good old Andrew Jackson and the Trail of Tears. So Native Americans have been sent here or just been allowed to live in this area for a good 100 or at least minimum years. United States government, they don't particularly care because no one wants this land. Suddenly, however, we have all these settlers, they want the land. Which means, well, our friends, the Plains Indians, are starting to be out of luck. Are one of the biggest problems, but for the most part, the Plains, they're granted to the natives as a reservation. 1834, virtually the entire Plains are granted to the Native Americans. It's far enough away from East Coast settlements that they're not going to pose a problem. Government restrictions begin, and that's when things start to go downhill. 1850s, the U.S. government changed all the treaties. So they had signed treaties. They said, all right, we're agreeing to let you live in this land. The U.S. decides to change those treaties, and this creates many clashes. There's settlers that are settling in this land that traditionally and legally had been the Native Americans, and you have miners, people that are out from mostly East Coast that are going to settle. And this really results in a lot of conflict. The Treaty of Fort Laramie, it sends the Sioux Indians, Sioux Native Americans, to a reservation. And a reservation is essentially a piece of land, fairly small, where the Native Americans are expected to live. Native Americans up to this point are fairly nomadic, so they're traveling around a lot. They're not really settled because they're not farmers. They're hunters and gatherers. So you're not dealing with people that are used to or really desiring to stay on one piece of land. The government restricts them, though, and they give initially the Sioux a reservation. Now, the Sioux and other tribes, they are not particularly happy about these reservations, namely because the government gives them land that isn't as desirable as other pieces of land. So they're already getting put on land that is not very good. So, while they're certainly not happy, they're at least have, it's mostly a large chunk of land. In the Dakotas, you have a lot of Native Americans there. George Custer, he is a Civil War veteran, general. Actually, I believe he's captain. General Custer. No, he's a general. George Custer, he is working out in the plains. He's mostly trying to protect settlers from natives. Gold is discovered in the Black Hills, which is where the Sioux tribe had been sent. So they are once again being forced off the land that the government had given them. Two men, Crazy Horse and Sitting Bull, they are pictured right here. They decide that enough is enough, and they're going to resist settlement. George Custer is a fairly incompetent leader, also underestimates the fight in the Native Americans. So in the Battle of Little Bighorn, 1876, Custer and his entire regiment are killed. Every single one of them. It's known as Custer's Last Stand, and really shows a great deal of strength for the Native Americans. It also doesn't work out too well because, well, then you have a lot of people angry at Native Americans. So the Indian Wars, we'll get into them a little more, but in class, Indian Wars end, and all of this land ends up being for sale. If you look at this, this is an actual poster. Indian land for sale, get a home of your own. Perfect title. You can get it within 30 days. Of course, we're dealing with Native Americans losing their land. They're essentially forced to sell land. And those natives that are resisting, well, they are not met with the greatest of fates. This is an image of the Battle of Wounded Knee, though it's more the incident or massacre at Wounded Knee. A cavalry regiment from the U.S. Army goes into a settlement of Native Americans, and approximately we have 300 people killed, 90 men, and then 200 women and children. So it's just an absolute massacre, and for the most part, innocent people. So we're going to get a little more into the nature of Native American relations in class tomorrow, so we're going to leave you here.